Well, hi everybody. This is really fun for me to come and listen to my friend Tanner. So I'll read this, but then I've got a little bit more commentary also. So Tanner is an entrepreneur and owner of multiple Utah companies. Over the past decade, he has acquired or founded the Shirt Stop,
Swear Studio.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I didn't. Okay, Swear Studio, Wildcat Fulfillment, and Petal Lane. Tanner has taken what started out as a small town print shop and built it into a group of companies that generate 8 figures in yearly revenue. Tanner employs over 80 people that manufacture and design products for some of the nation's top brands. Tanner lives in Richfield, Utah, with his wife McKenzie and their 4 kids. So one of the pieces of commentary I would add is Tanner's on the city council in Richfield also, which is something that I think entrepreneurs should be doing, finding ways to solve problems and add value in communities. And he's so involved in so many things. He's on our community council for Snow College. And so he comes and meets with us and always supports our scholarship dinners. When Tanner first moved back to Richfield, he had been at BYU and he had been doing summer sales. He probably will talk about this. And he made enough money from his summer sales to buy his first business in Richfield. So I had him come in. I taught, how many of you have taken strategic selling? Or you're in it now, maybe. So I was teaching that class at the time, and I asked Tanner to come in and talk to the students about the broad application of sales and what it can mean to you and how you can leverage it beyond just summer sales. So he's just a great example of coming back and adding value to a rural community. He went out, he learned, he totally bootstrapped everything. And he's just ambitious and courageous enough to keep it going. So I'm really excited and honored to introduce my friend Tanner Thompson.
Take everything Stacy said and just dial it back just a little bit. Those guys in the back can tell you, like, I'm not actually as impressive as Stacy. Just made me. Thank you so much. She is literally like the best, and you guys are so lucky to have such an awesome president here. Okay, well, first of all, actually, how many of you guys in here are like from a small town? Not all of you, but a good amount of you. Yeah. Okay. How many of you actually are like interested in business or owning your own company or starting a company? Like all of you. Awesome. Okay. So I was in these kinds of classes at BYU not too long ago. And do I need to stay in front of the mic? Okay. And I remember like having, the professor would have people come in and say, hey, this guy started a whatever company. And it was not, they were always like very interesting, but I always remember thinking like, yeah, well, I can't do that. A lot of the time, I remember specifically someone coming in and she started like a hockey supply store and it, became really good. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to be able to start a hockey supply store. So I wanted to put myself in your guys' shoes. If I'm you, how could what would, in my opinion, would be the best formula for you to be a millionaire while you're still in your 20s? It's very possible, and I think that you guys are your generation, this gets boo-hooed a lot because we hear that like your generation is not going to be able to afford a house. Your generation is, getting screwed by the baby boomers or whoever else. I actually think you guys have one of the best opportunity to start a business and generate real wealth in your position. So I kind of want to go over if I'm you and I'm starting over and I'm 20, 21, 19, however old you are, this is how I would go and start a business, buy a business, found a business to become wealthy. So I'm going to kind of talk to you about my story because that's my story is what I kind of would outline for you as a blueprint. Okay. So the baby boomer generation is getting ready to retire. They're getting older, and a lot of these people have founded businesses, a lot of them in small towns, and they're looking to cash out, go home, retire, and be done with their companies. I was able to buy a business like that and turn it into what it is today, and I want to give you guys a similar blueprint. So, like Stacy kind of said, I was at BYU going to school, and my parents didn't have any money. We grew up super poor, actually. One of my earlier memories when I was in middle school, I remember my parents telling us like, "Hey, we have to move," and I was like, "Why? Why do we have to move? We've lived here forever." And I come to find out later, like the bank had foreclosed on our house, so we lost our house, and we had to like go find somewhere to live. And it was like, I'm sure, really stressful for my parents as a kid. I was just like, "Oh, what the heck? This is dumb. Why are we moving?" So I didn't come from a lot. My dad, who is the greatest person in the world, who works for me now, just didn't have a great job, and it just was what it was. Because of that, I think it instilled in me, like at a young age, like the idea of saving what you have. I, when my parents would buy frozen burritos, I would like get my burritos and I would like hide them somewhere in the fridge. Not because I was afraid someone else was going to eat them. I just wanted to make sure that they were saved. And I actually never would even eat the burritos. I would just save the burritos, which is a weird thing. But that actually ended up being kind of what I did with money. So I came home, I went on my mission, came home, and I started doing door-to-door sales. And I was okay at it, and I got better at it, and I got better at it. Long story short, I ended up getting pretty good at it, and I got to the point where I was making really good money. I would make a couple $100,000 in the summer, and then come home. Now, you guys that are familiar with summer sales know that you can make really good money doing that. But there's also a culture in summer sales of like, okay, sweet, you made a bunch of money. What are you going to buy? You should get a Tesla. Or you should get a boat. You should buy this, that, or the other. That needs to be the biggest warning red flag. Don't do 100%. And that's, if there's anything you take away from this talk today, it's that how to get ahead in life will be first, delay gratification. So the world will tell you that you need to have the coolest things. As soon as you have $1, you need to spend it and buy the coolest clothes or buy the coolest car or have the coolest watch or whatever. Don't listen to those people. Save your money. And for those of you that have read books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the idea is buy something that can make you more money. And for whatever reason, that idea kind of stuck in my brain early. So I saved up a lot of money. I was at BYU. I was in the entrepreneurship program at the Marriott School. And I heard about a business back in my hometown of Richfield that was for sale. And somebody said to me, "Hey, you should buy that." And I just thought, like, I doubt that makes any money at all. But I looked at their financials, and I was actually in accounting at the time at BYU. So I kind of learned like what a financial statement should look like. And I said, well, it makes some money. It makes a little bit. It didn't really make that much money, honestly. It was a bad decision. I really probably shouldn't have bought the company. But I did. And I bought it for $500,000. And this would be like your first, like, you guys can do this too. So to buy a business that's $500,000, the government will actually give you a loan to buy a company. Then you only need to put 10% down. In theory, I could have bought this $500,000 company for $50,000. So any of you in this room could buy a $500,000 company if you could scrounge up 50 grand. You can scrounge up 50 grand. You can go work on a shrimp boat for the summer. You can go work in the oil rigs. You can go sell something in the summer. The old adage of it takes money to make money is real. So if I'm in your position, start saving and making money. Most of you don't have like families and huge responsibility yet. Start stockpiling money to buy an asset. So that's what I did. I had some money set aside. I bought this company. And I had kind of I'd learned to sell because I was doing alarms. And so I thought to myself, well, I could sell t-shirts to people. So I'm in Richfield, a small town that has 7,000 people. It's going to be difficult to grow into like a multi-million-dollar company. So we just started driving up to Provo and selling companies up there. And my thing was like, okay, hey, if you work with us, we can do it for you cheaper because we're out of Richfield and wages are cheaper there, property's cheaper there. So it doesn't cost us as much to make your t-shirts as it does the person in Provo. Whether or not that was true, I'm really not sure, but that was kind of our pitch. We told everybody we could do it for cheaper. So then we started selling to like tech companies that were up there. And so started growing a little bit. And then we got our first big break. We ended up getting a contract with the state of Utah to where we were able to sell if you've ever been to if you're from Utah, state golf, state basketball, state whatever, they sell hoodies at those events as souvenirs. So most of the time, if we sold a t-shirt, we have really small margins. Our margin would be, we buy a t-shirt for $5, we print your logo on it, we sell it to you for $6. You got to sell a lot of t-shirts to make millions of dollars doing that. But when we started selling at these state events, we buy a hoodie that cost us $10 and we could sell it for $55. And that started really increasing our cash flow to where at that point, I could have said, oh my gosh, now I can really afford a boat. I'm going to buy this boat. And that's what a lot of people do in business is they start making some money and then they buy the boat, they buy the house, they've got some kids, the kid wants it. But I did the same thing. I stuck the burritos in the back corner of the freezer so nobody could find them. I did the same with the money that we were making from this state contract. And I stuck that money and hid it away, knowing that if I really want to grow this thing, I've got to have money to do it. And so next, the business started to change, started to evolve. We got bigger and bigger. And there was kind of a trend with influencers on Instagram that were, how many of you know who Indie Blue is? None of you. Holy cow. Have you heard of the brand Lonely Ghost? Yes? Yeah. Okay. So she started a brand called Lonely Ghost, and we started producing for them. And we were still just a small little shop in Richfield. And I knew hey, we've got to get a presence in Utah County. So we bought a shop that was in Provo and we started telling people, hey, we're the best quality shop in Utah. We believed it. And I told our people, hey, we're the best. We've got to make the most high quality stuff. And so that became our identity, is making really good quality stuff. And we started making stuff for influencers all over the state. Next, it got to the point where I couldn't do everything. And so I had to hire a salesman. I ended up hiring that dude in the back and he sucked for a year. He was really not good at his job for a whole year. And, so I said, oh, geez, we're paying this guy and he's not even selling anything. And, I said, hey, Derek, I'm going to fire you, dude, unless you can start selling. And he basically, okay, give me another chance. I said, well, I'm not going to pay you anymore. I'm going to just move you to 100% commission. And as soon as I did that, Derek started making a lot of money, started selling a lot. And what, Derek, you probably make up 30 to 40% of our sales now. And we, you can just see we just took a next step. It went from me being kind of the business going out and getting stuff to, well, now we have a legitimate presence in Utah County. Now we have a legitimate sales guy who's really bringing in business. And throughout that time, like I said, we were telling everybody, hey, we make the best quality apparel in Utah. And I believed that, but it was kind of fake it till you make it. We were landing contracts with Adobe and Podium, huge billion-dollar companies, and making stuff that people were then buying from us and turning around and selling in Nordstrom. And whereas, a few years ago, we were just a tiny little shop in Richfield, but we faked it till we made it. And now in Utah, if there's anybody making quality apparel that they want to turn around and sell at a real profit margin, they're working with us. So then as we kept growing, we got to the point where we probably had, 30-ish employees, and everything was like a fire drill for us. It was, okay, what's due tomorrow? We got a deadline. This has got to be done tomorrow. Oh crap. Well, let's ask everybody if they could stay till 2 a.m. and help figure it out. A lesson that I learned was, first, it's hire your weaknesses. So I came into this business, I'm a super disorganized person. Derek can tell you I'm really disorganized. There's things I'm good at, but I think if you guys are going to start a business, you need to first identify, obviously you're good at a lot of things, but figure out what you're not good at. Because a lot of business owners have an ego where they believe oh, I'm next to God. I can do everything. I can do anything. Ego will kill your business. So figure out what you're not good at, and then hire your weaknesses. Hire people that are really good at what you're really bad at. And I was lucky enough to be able to do that initially. I've got some really organized people that do really well what I'm really bad at. So being able to put your ego aside and trust other people to do what you're not good at is really important. So we were operating like a fire drill all the time. Stuff was a lot of times late, but we were just trying our best. I had a guy walk into my office and say, because I was actually hiring for a new shop manager. I had a guy come in and say, hey, so I actually used to run all production for Hurley and Billabong, and I operated a shop in California that was doing X amount of millions a year. I was overseeing all 200 employees, and I'm like, oh my gosh, seriously? I would love for you to work with us. And he's like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. Let's make this happen. And the job was paying, I was offering $50,000. And he was like, but instead of $50,000, I need you to pay me $200,000. And I was like, I don't pay myself $200,000. Sorry, man, there must be some confusion here. We're not going to hire you at that price. And he was like, you need me. And I'm like, yeah, you're probably right, but sorry, can't afford you. And so I told him to get out of here. And he came in like every month, and he was like, hey, you ready to hire me yet? And I'm like, sorry, man, no, you're way too expensive. And the next month go by, and it was just still, we're like up to our eyeballs in work that we can't get out on time, and customers are pissed, and it's just like became a nightmare. And the guy comes back in and is like, hey, ready to hire me yet? And I go, ugh. No, but can you still, could you help us? I can't afford you, man. And he goes, listen, I will pay for myself in the first month with just what I'm going to be saving you, just this mess you're in. And so struck up a deal with him and ended up hiring the guy, thinking like, well, I can just fire him. So if it doesn't work out, I'll just fire him. And so he came in, and no joke, we were probably at that point, when I bought the business, we were doing about $600,000 in sales. At this point, we were probably doing like $3 million. And it was like all we could handle. Like I couldn't imagine doing $1 more. Like I couldn't even fathom how people did tens or hundreds of $1,000,000 in my businesses. It's just like not possible. He came in, and with literally, just like you said, within the first month, like all the storm calmed. And it was because he was good at what I wasn't good at. And he ended up taking us from 3 to like 7 within a year and a half, more than doubled, just because he was able to help us get operations flowing smoothly, right? So it was a lesson for me. Like I just made so much more money by paying this guy more money than I even thought possible. So it goes back to hire your weaknesses. If there's stuff you're not good at, put your ego aside and hire your weakness. So 2 biggest things, like I said so far, delay gratification. You don't need that boat. And hire your weakness. So once that happened, we were really starting to make like real money. And a lot of the influencers that we were working with were, we would give them 1,000 hoodies. They would post it on Instagram, and they would sell that 1,000 hoodies in 5 minutes. Boom, 1,000 hoodies gone. And then they would, hey, we need more hoodies. And we realized like, oh, there's a niche here for us, because these influencers could sell like you wouldn't believe. But the thing that they hated, the thing that they were really good at was getting on Instagram, looking cute, and saying, hey, you should buy this hoodie. And they would all buy them. But what they sucked at was like, oh crap, now I just sold 1,000 hoodies. I've got to take this hoodie. I've got to send it to Jenny in Omaha, Nebraska, put it in a package, take it to the post office. And so they were terrible at that stuff. So we said, all right, hey, well, how about we take that off your plate? We didn't tell them we would start a fulfillment company. We told them we own a fulfillment company. They can do all your fulfillment for you. And they said, okay, awesome. Sounds good. So we started a company called Wildcat Fulfillment that handles all of the shipping and fulfillment for what started out as influencers. I started it with a friend in Richfield, and right out of the gates, he was like, okay, sweet. We need a forklift. We need a big building to put up racking. We need, to operate a fulfillment company, we need barcode scanners. There's a lot of upfront expenses to do this. And I was just like, no, we're not. We're actually going to just keep it really, 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 really tight because we haven't even made a penny yet. And so I did the same thing that I did with Shirt Stop. I stuck the burritos in the very back and just ran as lean as possible. Like most of my life, I lift off the McDonald's dollar menu. So I did the same thing here. And now Wildcat we've had it for 3 years now, and it's $1 million company. If I would have right out of the gate come out and said, okay, sweet, yeah, we need a forklift, let's buy all this stuff so then I can be a legitimate business, we wouldn't have made it because we just didn't make enough money in the beginning to be able to afford to cash flow an actual company. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do that when they start a business. It's like, okay, sweet, I started a business. I need a sweet desk, and I got to get a new iMac, and I got to get business cards made, and I got to have some custom pens, probably a new jacket. Don't do that. Just keep everything really, really, really tight, and the money will come. Okay. So Wildcat was created basically off of the idea that, we can vertically integrate by starting another business that's kind of in the family of apparel, like we're currently doing. And it will be supported by Shirt Stop. So Shirt Stop is basically the parent company that made Wildcat possible. Then we started another company called Swear. And I started it with Derek. And it was, these influencers, they are they have these big followings, but they can't get people to pay them just for being hot. So why don't we help them monetize their following by helping them start an apparel brand that they can then sell to their following? Sounds like a no-brainer, right? It sounds like we met with investors, and investors this is a multi-million dollar business. Holy cow, this could be something huge. And we did the first influencer that we worked with. She sold $250,000 worth of product in 5 minutes, just bam. And we helped her start this brand. And we're like, oh my gosh, we are going to be so rich so quick. And then the next drop that she did, she sold out of product in 5 minutes again. And we just couldn't believe our eyes how much money we were actually making doing this. Fast forward 2 years, 3 years, and that business has lost money for 2 years in a row. And it doesn't the internet age makes it so that things can change really, really fast. We were making money hand over fist for a minute, and then the influencer world changed, and people didn't trust everything the influencer said, and they weren't just buying everything that an influencer told them to buy. So failure is part of being in business. This was a crappy one to have to swallow, but we failed, and that didn't mean everything else had to go out of business. Because we didn't buy the boats and the cabins and all the things, that didn't sink us. We were able to. We had a loser on our hands, and it was what it was. While all this was happening, just kept the same process. Kept saving money. And another business came for sale that I thought was a winner. It's called Petal Lane. So when I bought the Shirt Stop was, like I said, a $600,000 company, and we were able to 10 times that and make it a $6, $7, $8 million company within 5 or 6 years. A company came available that was already a $3 million company, and so I'm thinking to myself, well, gosh, if we buy that, can we 10 times that and make it a $30 million company? And I bought that about a year ago. And over the last year, it's doubled in size. So the concept rings true. And I think if there's a takeaway for you guys, it's, for me, I've started businesses and I've bought businesses. Where I think there is the secret life hack to where you guys can become millionaires in your 20s, it's not by starting the next Google, right? That's really hard. And that's one in multiple billions of companies that you can start. Buying a company is, you've all heard the statistics, right? 90% of businesses fail within their first year. Starting a company, there's a lot of risk involved. Buying a company is very different. If you buy a company, they already have employees. They already have a system. They already have a way that things are run. They already have customers. If you decide tomorrow, like, hey, I'm going to start a, whatever, I don't know, pawn shop, like getting your first customer to come in and pawn something is really, really hard. But if there's been a pawn shop that's been sitting there on that street for 30 years, customers are just coming in every single day. You didn't have to do anything to do that. So buying an existing company for me was just a serious, serious hack into having money come in right away. When I bought the shirt stop, you tell me what time wise if I'm good. When I bought the shirt stop, I was 25 years old, and I walked into that business and there was people that were 50, 60 years old and who'd worked there basically as long as I had been alive. And I had to fire some of those people as a 25-year-old kid. It was awful. It was terrible. But I was able to plug myself in and be like, hey, I'm good at sales. There's already this machine, this engine that's running. I'm going to just pour gas on it by adding more sales. So you guys have the same opportunity. If you're from a small town and want to get back to your small town, that's what I was able to do. There's millionaires in your town that you don't know are millionaires, that own a small plumbing store, that own a car dealership, that own like a screen printing shop. There's a screen printing shop in every single, I'm not saying go buy a screen printing shop, but I'm saying from my perspective, it was not a great business to like invest in that's going to have this monumental growth potential, but it is what you make of it. So there's baby boomers retiring every single day. I'll illustrate this with my most recent purchase, Petal Lane. I actually knew the owners. I was related to them. They were my aunt and uncle. They have owned Petal Lane for 30, 40 years, a long, long time. And they sell home decor products that they then sell in like TJ Maxx, Home Goods, Nordstrom, Pottery Barn, like that kind of thing. And they live in Richfield, and that business for most of their life made them between like $250,000 and $400,000 a year, which living in Richfield, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, like you're living like a king making that kind of money in a small town. So a lot of what happens with baby boomers is they're making $300,000-$400,000 a year in these businesses, and they could actually be making like $3 to $4 to $5 to $6 to $7 million. But it's a lifestyle business for them rather than them trying to build an empire. They've got kids, they're making $300,000 a year. They don't grow the business to the potential it actually has. So because why would they? They're making great money, they have a great life, and they're doing great, making great money. So there's no reason to kill yourself to grow the business to be a $30 million business when a $3 to $4 million business pays the bills and gives you a great lifestyle. There's opportunities like that everywhere. There's opportunities like that in Ephraim. There's opportunities like that wherever you're from. If you want to get back to where you're from, businesses like that are for sale all over the place. So Petal Lane, we bought for a few $1,000,000, and I know that we're going to be able to grow it to $10 to $20 million. So I was able to buy it. Now, if I was to say instead, like, actually, I'm going to start from scratch, a company that sells home decor in TJ Maxx, Home Goods, Nordstrom. I know nothing about that, never done it before, but I was able to buy a business that had already been in business for 40 years and just pour more gas on the fire. So if I'm you and you're trying to become a millionaire in your 20s, I would look for a small business, and it doesn't have to be a sexy business, right? It doesn't have to be a tech company. It doesn't have to be, a professional sports team. It can be a plumbing company. That's what I'm looking at next. The next businesses that I want to get into are like HVAC, electrical companies, plumbing companies. That have been in town for a long time. They have a loyal customer base, and then I can grow them just like I was able to do with the shirt stop. But none of that can be done if you first don't have, like I said, it takes money to make money. You need some money for a down payment. So right now you're in a perfect position in your life to go out, make money, stockpile it, and then find a delay gratification. Don't spend that money, okay? Stick it in your pocket, wait for the right opportunity. And when the right opportunity comes, push your chips into the middle and then bet on yourself. And then once you get in there, you'll be the 25-year-old that's got 7 employees looking at him like, who is this kid that now owns a business? And I'm taking orders from this kid. Fake it till you make it. You just pretend like you know what you're doing until you do know what you're doing. Because eventually you'll be like, now I don't think there's anybody that knows more about how to sell apparel in the state of Utah than me. And when I started, I knew zero about it. I knew nothing about it. Okay. You can become your own personal expert in anything that you get into, but like have confidence and fake it till you make it. Once you get in there, hire your weaknesses because you're going to be bad at a lot of stuff. Like I was bad at a lot of stuff. Don't be afraid to you can't do everything. Hire stuff that you're not good at. We started with 7 employees and now we have 70 or 80 employees. And I mean, Derek can tell you all the things that I'm bad at. I am not some like, oh my gosh, he's just like a business genius. I've hired other people that are really good at what they're good at to make me look better, right? Like Stacy said a lot of really nice things about me. I'm really not any different from you guys. I found the right people to work with. And then once you've found success in those domains, start over again. That's what Petal Lane is for me. It's us starting over again, and we will grow that business, hopefully to a $20-30 million business. And then hopefully the next business we buy will be a $15 million business that we can grow into a $150 million business. I want to give you guys a little, like a few minutes to ask questions if you had any, but those 3 things, and you guys will be able to find success. Delay gratification, hire your weaknesses, and fake it till you make it. I was just a regular kid from Richfield, small town, and in the span of 10 years, I've been able to take having no money to a conglomerate of companies that produces about $13 million in revenue. And it's with really unsexy businesses that are just right underneath your nose. So, yeah, any questions you guys might have?
I was just going to say, what do you think are the most important skills that we can develop at our age?
Sure. Yeah. For me, accounting was really big for me. I took accounting at BYU, and just knowing how to like read a financial statement made it like possible for me to determine whether or not the sure stuff was a good or a bad business to buy. And you guys know people, lean on your network, right? If you have a network of people, lean on your rich uncle that owns a dental practice. Lean on, people in your life that you have experience in this stuff, and they'll help you. Sales was really big for me. If you can sell, you will always have a job. And if you can generate revenue for a company, you're always going to be valuable to them. If you can generate revenue for yourself, you're going to be 10 times more valuable. So developing some sales skills for me was really, really big. Being able to sell and then having a basic understanding of accounting. It's the language of business. And if you buy a business and don't know anything about accounting, you just won't know when you're in trouble, essentially. You won't know if you're running out of money or not. So those are good things to pick up. Again, it's not required. You'll figure it out. What you learn, I mean, you see this in any way in life. What you learn on the job is going to be 10 times the knowledge that you do learning in the classroom. The classroom gets you headed in the right direction, but like being buried in it and it's real. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah. Yeah. So I'll answer that question 2 ways. Starting a business from scratch is not a bad idea. There's just more risk involved, right? I mentioned 2 businesses here that I started from scratch. Wildcat Fulfillment, that's grown and been successful, and Swear Studio, which right now is a failing business. So we're batting 50-50. Every company I've bought has grown exponentially and a lot faster. As far as starting an apparel brand today, it's more doable today than it probably has ever been, because when you were growing up, it was like you had the powerhouse brands. You had Nike, you had Adidas, you had Ralph Lauren. They're like the drivers of fashion, and they really told everyone what to buy and where to buy it. Instagram makes it possible to start a niche brand. And if I was to suggest anything, I would say be as nichey as humanly possible. Um, like you can't start a clothing brand today that appeals to everyone in this room. You need to start something super niche. I think we had somebody that reached out that wants to start a Jewish pickleball clothing brand, and that's like perfectly nichey, right? Because a lot of people playing pickleball. There's too many actually pickleball brands. You probably aren't going to be successful in just a pickleball brand, but a Jewish pickleball brand is going to resonate with a tiny niche. But that tiny niche is a niche of 10 million people, right? So I would be, if I'm starting an apparel brand, I would be really nichey. It can't just be like, oh, girls will think this is cute. It's just too broad, and Skims is going to beat the crap out of you. Yeah. Any other questions?
How could I start to learn how to like analyze a business? Books I can read,
YouTube, how to understand a profit and loss statement. That just that is a good enough place to start. If you can understand, not even the balance sheet, like that will be good. That will come. But if you can just understand a profit and loss statement and understand what you should buy a business for. I've overpaid for businesses, because I didn't really understand the profit and loss statement. So if I were you and I was looking at a business, I would say, hey owner, yeah, that sounds great. Could I see your P&L? And if their P&L shows net income at the very bottom line, this is how much money we made. Let's say it's $100,000. The business made $100,000. Then I wouldn't spend more than 3 times what that number is. So I'd say, okay, I'll give you $250,000 for your business, or I'll give you $300,000 for your business. But if somebody that's making $100,000, whose business is making $100,000 a year, is trying to sell it to you for $800,000, it's not worth it. The general number for a small business would be 3 times what your net income is. That's for me a general rule. Now, if there's like a ton of potential or the margins are really good, yeah, then maybe you can go to 3.54. But that would be like I would really learn to understand a profit and loss statement, and then just know what you want to spend. And then you can search for, it's like, okay, let's say I've got $100,000 set aside. Like I said, an SBA loan, you only need to have 10%. You only need to have put 10% down. So you could say with $100,000, I could buy a company that is, I could buy a company that's doing $1 million in sales, but they're doing, no, it's bottom lining. Well, depends on what the sale price was. If the sale price was $1 million, you could buy $1 million company with $100,000 in your pocket. And that's huge asset. The fact that the government will give you a loan against something like that is like such an awesome opportunity. Any other questions? You.
I was going to ask, where would you suggest people look for businesses for sale?
So I'll tell you what not to do. There's a lot of businesses for sale online. KSL, there's companies called like a marketplace called Biz by Sell. If a company is listed for sale online, that means that the people that are closest to them and that know a lot about the business already passed on it. There's a reason they passed on it, right? If any of the businesses I've bought have not been like, oh, I saw this website and they were selling a business. That's too far downstream. You want to be upstream on businesses that you're buying. So if you're connected to a family member or I would use your network of knowing that, not even if someone's going to buy a business, if there's a business that you like the idea of, ask the person. If they're of the right age, they're probably going to be looking to retire in the next 5 years potentially, and say, hey, would you ever sell your business? That's a good way to do it. And then, like I said, don't be too far downstream from where the good deals are. The good deals and the good businesses aren't on KSL. They're not on Craigslist. So I would use your network. And if you don't have a great network, talk to your rich uncle. Start talking to people about how that's what you want to do. I want to buy a business. I want to go into business. I want to start my own business. Just having those conversations and that being put out there will attract people that are in the same circle of influence. And that's how I would do it. None of the businesses I've bought have been because I found it online. It's people know that I buy businesses now. So they kind of come, and that you can do the same thing. You can do the same exact thing. Yeah, it's you.
I was curious, you mentioned your stuff where I was curious what some of your other favorite books are. Business books.
Yeah, I love and it's more of a self-help book than it is a business book. I love Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. It gives you a great like headspace of how to think about the world. Graham's book, The Intelligent Investor, I think is the best book on like growing wealth, in my opinion.
So say that like I want to be an entrepreneur, do you recommend trying to be like, and I mean an entrepreneur as far as having an idea and building and scaling the business.
Yeah.
Do you recommend going and making money like you're talking about before trying to do that?
100%. I do. There may be people that disagree with me, but it takes money to make money. You're not, if you're starting something from scratch, you just need money to buy a piece of equipment. You need money to get started. You just do. But to buy an existing business, which in my opinion is the cheat code to having quick success at a young age, you have to have money to put down so the bank will loan you money to buy a company. And buying a company is a relatively low risk versus starting a company. Like if a business has been in business for 20 years, they have a track record, right? And a bank is willing to loan on something that's like, oh yeah, they've been in business for 20 years and have made this amount of money. This kid's not a total idiot. I think he could just continue doing what they've been doing. So, but to do that, like a bank's not going to loan you money unless you have some of your own skin in the game. And like I said, an SBA loan, you only need 10%. You only need 10% of what the purchase price of the business is. So if you're buying a business for $1 million, you only need $100,000. If you're buying a business for $50,000, you only need 50 grand. You could all come up with 50 grand in a year if you just work hard enough. And it's not even that hard. Not even that hard. Like there's jobs out there that you can make 50 grand that then you could turn into, well, now I'm the owner of a $500,000 company and I'm going to go out and grow it. Right? Like that is the cheat code to quick money in your 20s. I really believe baby boomers, there are more baby boomers retiring than there are people entering the workforce. So there's going to be more good businesses that are for sale than there are people to buy them. So there's going to be good deals to be had on businesses that are for sale because these people can't work forever and they didn't have as many kids as their parents had, and they're not all going to pass it down to their kid. So there's opportunity. There's more people getting out and selling businesses than there are people to buy them. So you should and be able to get a good deal on a well-functioning business, and that's an awesome opportunity.
Can you describe really quickly search funds and what your thoughts are on search funds, people that get money together to go buy these baby boom businesses you said?
Yeah. So I assume you're talking like private equity money.
Yeah, they're specifically, kind of geared around what you're saying with, it's a little different than private equity. They're not looking for big businesses, they're looking for niche industries, smaller, maybe you can 10x it to 30 million.
I'm sure know more about it than I do.
Curious if you have any thoughts on that. Yeah.
Well, I do know that the shift has gone away, even in private equity and like these smaller funds, they've gone away from tech. I mean, 10 years ago, 3 years ago, you couldn't really raise money or get a group of people to buy something that wasn't tech because tech had the highest potential. Tech is in a slump. Now what big money and small money and medium money are buying is HVAC companies, electrical companies. They're buying car washes. They're buying blue collar things that are not as sexy as Vivint, but they have potential to really, really return a lot of money. And by accident, that's kind of what I bought into and learned this lesson. Any other questions? Thank you guys so much for having me. Sorry, I'm kind of a rambler, but if you have any other questions, I can leave my number or email with you, but anything I can do to help if you guys are interested in this, I would be more than willing to be a resource. So thank you guys.